Hello and welcome back, all four of you. My name is Pilot Merchant, and the concept of ghost being real is pretty scary. I mean, one second you're in the kitchen making pancakes, and the next second your dead nan is throwing pot at you. It's really not a happy thought, is it? But the odd thing about ghosts is that this type of behavior only seems to exist on TV and in the cinema and in various YouTube videos. What's that all about? And today's subject is no exception to that rule. Now, for those of you who are also subscribed to JonTron, you may recall that a few years ago he released a video called Real Ghost that followed a show that was by the same name. Personally, the video left me curious about what else the show had to offer, so I eventually ended up watching episode 2 and I was not disappointed. If you'd like to check out JonTron's video after you're done watching this one, I'll be leaving a link for you down in the description. Also, before we start, if you like music and bad films and cracking jokes, then please consider subscribing. I upload every Friday at 5 PM Eastern Standard Time, and also I'm a very small channel. I desperately need the support. Without any further ado though, let's get right into Real Ghost, Episode 2. After some doors fly at us and the narrator changes 3 times, we finally get to our first story, Unfinished Business. We meet Bob and Ricky, who are currently working on some wood projects. Despite the fact that they seem to be the same age, they are actually a father and son duo. Ricky starts to tell his father about the old dude he's building the shelf for, and that as long as he does a good job, he's been promised more work in the future. So how do you think he responds? Do you think that he karate chops the board off of the shelf and then tells his son?
Doing this for your own good, Ricky.
'Cause I didn't. That's for damn sure. After that loving display of affection, Bob storms off to the corner to put on his coat because, like the immaculate person he is, he's sneaking off to go get drunk. Before he can head out though, Tim, Bob's other son, and Christopher, Ricky's son, decide to pop by and check on the progress of the woodworks. Christopher, being probably, I don't know, 3 or 4, gets excited to see his dad and runs over to him. Bob, however, demands that Chris has to leave the barn because he gets into everything. Look at him! Just by existing, he's being a nuisance. Eventually, Bob makes his way to the saloon and is talking to a working gal, when all of a sudden 2 union workers interrupt their conversation. Bob sends his hoe to
Cindy, go adjust your pantyhose.
and then he starts to speak with the union workers. It turns out that they're relatively pissed off. One of them because Bob is sticking his nose where it doesn't belong, and the other one because
I can't see my forehead.
the one who's pissed at Bob tries strong-arming him, but Bob is ultimately too stupid or drunk or whatever he is to care. The show then transitions to a new day mid-scene for some reason.
On April 3rd, 1989, Bob Clanton was riding home from work. Taking his usual route, he made one unscheduled stop.
Oh, I wonder where he's going. Oh. Well, at least he wore his helmet. So in case you didn't guess it, Bob died in the accident. At his funeral, Tim gets up to go see his father when all of a sudden his eyes open up again.
It was my father's eyes. We tried to close them, but they kept opening on their own.
He didn't have any glue, tape, staples. The narrator then talks about how this is a bad omen and how the family have had multiple run-ins with Bob's ghost, but nothing to the degree that we are about to deal with. Ricky is messing with his truck when all of a sudden a hose starts spraying air everywhere. Now personally, I would have thought that I may have done something wrong, but you know, Ricky really does believe that it's a ghost. Thinking that he's safe, Ricky takes a second to breathe, but just when he lets his guard down, the radio flicks on and starts reciting the words.
I know why
I died.
Over and over and over again in a loop. Understandably, he's quite frightened by the creepy message, but not as frightened as he is when he sees his dead father spouting the same gibberish at him.
You ain't supposed to be.
Where's he supposed to be then? Ghost work? Anyways, Ricky runs out of the barn and we see the Clanton family as having a meeting in their sitting room. While discussing ideas about how to handle the whole ghost situation, Tim says that they should hire a medium, but Ricky doesn't want to. Tim asks why, and so Ricky dismisses everyone but them from the room. Oh, and the chicken. Yeah, he can stay too. Ricky then explains to his brother how he believes that they should handle it on their own because he's afraid of the situation getting worse. Ultimately though, they opt into hiring a medium after Nickelodeon slime starts oozing out from their walls. When the mediums arrive, they decide to hold a seance in an attempt to summon Bob's ghost. He eventually does show up, and in an actual character redeeming way, he apologizes to his family for treating them like trash and then tells them that he loves them. Now at the end of each story, there is a little bit of a segment where they interview the people that claim that this really did happen. In this case, the interview is with Ricky, Tim, and Christopher, along with the 2 mediums. Though, to be honest, it seems like none of the adults are really making much sense. Both Ricky and Tim believe that their father was murdered, although he'd literally ran a stop sign and then got hit by a truck, and the mediums pretty much just keep spouting more BS about the ghost and the spirit world. It's almost like the only person that's going to make any sense here is Christopher.
I was awake, then I saw him by my grandma's side of her bed. Then he was
You know,
talking to her.
on
but
second
she
thought,
was
we should
asleep.
probably just
And
move
he
on
didn't
to the
seem
next
real
story.
awake.
Moving on to our second story of the night, Tinnet Tower, we open up on Kyle and Rita Matheson celebrating their newly acquired house by having lunch and PDA in their backyard. Rita starts to bring some of the dishes inside when all of a sudden we hear a glass break. Kyle runs inside to check on her and we find an oddly more angry version of Rita picking up the glass shards.
Do you know how much work it takes to keep up a house like this?
How would you? You moved in yesterday. So Kyle gets a little pissy and Rita tries to slash him open and pins him against a wall, emotionlessly ready to kill him. Kyle starts apologizing for what he said and Rita starts bawling her eyes out on his shoulder as he stares at the house in distrust. Kyle, you need to get out of her, man. Dude, that wasn't me. That was her. She's fucking crazy, dude. You need to get out. After watching a montage of seeing them grow more and more emotionally distant, we've watched Kyle and Rita pulling up to their house as they discuss the problems in their relationship. Eventually, they start to patch things up until they realize that all of the lights in the house have been turned on by someone. They quickly make their way inside and find that the house is boiling hot. Kyle asks Rita if she possibly left the heat on, and then she low-key snaps again.
You're always accusing, always pointing a finger. One of these days, I'm gonna cut that finger off.
Love, you're literally the one pointing fingers right now. Eventually, they make their way into the kitchen and Rita discovers that somehow all the food has gone rancid and for some reason the sink is full of knives. Because Rita is crazy, she pulls one of the knives out of the sink and backs Kyle into the wall again, but when they actually reach the wall, she just kind of starts poking him with the pointy end. No, please, no. Haha, I'm poking you until you cannot be poked no more. Eventually, Kyle gets Rita to snap out of her crazy and then tries to hide from the house. Inside of the house. In an effort to escape, Kyle tries to open the patio door, but the poor thing forgot how doors work. He eventually kicks it open and Rita runs out of the house, but before Kyle can, something throws him up against the wall and he has a hard crash landing. Rita runs back inside and helps Kyle escape. Afterwards, they just kind of sit outside in awe of what just happened. According to the interview portion of this story, it turns out that both Kyle and Rita had to go to the hospital afterwards, and when they got back, they immediately tried to sell their house. Eventually, they did find a buyer, but not totally convinced that the house wouldn't somehow uproot itself and come find them, they basically entered witness protection. The new owners of the house then decided to contact a parapsychologist in an attempt to understand the nature of the poltergeist.
Now here, this is again an unmanned camera which was static, set up for 72 hours. At the other end as well is another camera with a microwave imaging system.
That way, if we get hungry, we can make pizza rolls. Moving on to our last story, Motel Hell, the narrator starts to tell us about the Johnson family and how they're looking into buying the motel for their family to move into.
When Doretta and Ron Johnson found the motel in Madison, Indiana, they knew it was the perfect place to raise their kids.
Raising kids in a motel room? Yeah, that sounds like Indiana. After Ron does some brilliant negotiating, the family starts to move their stuff into their brand new home. Later into the night, little Ashley Johnson has a bad dream and starts screaming. Ron's wife, Doretta, then rushes into the room to check on her. Hey, guys. I think that's a fire hazard. Doretta is able to reason with Ashley by telling her that the creepy sounds she's hearing are just the house settling and eventually gets Ashley to go back to bed. Later on into the night, Doretta wakes up to the sound of a child calling for their mummy. Thinking it's Ashley, Doretta rolls out of bed and then heads downstairs to check on her once again. Upon entering Ashley's room, however, it becomes apparent that the sound is actually coming from one of Ashley's baby dolls. She then logically decides to take the batteries out of the doll to stop the noise, but on closer inspection, it turns out there weren't any batteries in it to begin with. Unbeknownst to me, Doretta just kind of shrugs us off and goes back to bed. The next scene opens up with the Johnson family getting home from good old grandma's house.
Those noises in the attic could have been rotting mummies from hell.
I mean, the kid's got a point. It could be. Apparently, Steven has been saying some dumb stuff about the noises in the house, such as blaming it on mummies and then aliens soon after that. Ron starts to get onto Steven as they're walking towards the sitting room, but when they actually get to the room, they notice that the entire place is pretty much destroyed. There's a dead bird on the sofa, blood on the walls, shit everywhere. I mean, logically, something paranormal happened here, right? Ron blames the bird. Yep, somehow in the mind of Ron Johnson, he finds that the most logical conclusion is the small crow on the sofa somehow managed to not only destroy the entire sitting space, but also constantly rammed itself relentlessly against the wall until it died. Ron, what the fuck is wrong with you? So the next scene is integral to the story, but I will not be showing any video of it simply because it has what I consider to be CP in it. So in the scene, Dorette is giving Ashley a bath. That's all fine and dandy until a ghost girl starts to poke her head outside of the water, and then Dorette starts freaking the fuck out and pulls Ashley out of the bathtub and basically runs over to the side of the room and starts yelling for Ron and Steven, but by the time they get up there, the ghost girl is already gone. Even though they didn't see anything, the event still freaks everyone out, and they opt into calling a priest to come bless the house for them. Also, is the blood part of your decor now? I'm not judging, just curious.
I can feel the evil here. It's like a chill in the air.
It is a chill in the air. Thermostat's busted.
This kid has got some solid logic. After the priest finishes his blessing, he then tells Ron that there's nothing else that he can do for the house. Ron thanks the pastor and asks for some advice about what to do next.
Another, blessing? I would get the hell out.
You know, I can't say I disagree with him. Still freaked out over everything, Dorette and Ron start getting absolutely toasted at 3 a.m. Eventually the ghost girl comes out of nowhere to give them a good spook and then just kind of pieces out. After the experience, they decide to call a parapsychologist who then diagnoses the problem as something to do with the power lines.
They contacted parapsychologists at the university who were intrigued by their story. Their initial theory: a magnetic field caused by the intersection of 3 power lines above the house was the catalyst for the evil within.
I mean, I wouldn't say little girl really qualifies as evil, but okay. The ghost, angry about the fact that parapsychology is somehow a scientific field, decides to write bad in the mirror, make Ashley do a float, and blows up Steven's cabin while he's still inside of it. Wait, it does what? Amazing grace, how sweet. Oh no, wait. He's all good, somehow. So the interview portion of this story is pretty normal, up until a story where Dorette starts talking about a butcher knife, and it's terrifying.
I put him to bed, and that night I felt real uncomfortable, and so I slept in their room with him, and I slept on the floor. And when I woke the next morning, Ashley was standing over top of me, and she was straddled over my neck, and she had this huge butcher knife and had it shoved into my mouth.
Moral of the episode? Don't trust children. Or houses. Or stop signs. Well, that's going to be it for me today, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it. It helps me a lot more than you know. If you have any suggestions for TV shows or YouTube videos or films that you want me to watch and talk over, leave it down in the comments. If you're interested in watching more videos of mine, I do upload every Friday, so please consider subscribing. Again, I am a small channel and I need all the support I can get. Other than that, that's going to be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day. You know, I didn't want children to begin with. This just kind of solidifies that.